Welcome to a new video where we're going to reveal 10 tricks from professional mechanics that will make your car reach 500,000 kilometers and more, running as if it just came off the lot. Do you think only taxi drivers or car enthusiasts know how to maintain a vehicle for decades? Wrong. Today we bring you the secrets the best mechanics use to extend the life of any car, be it a sedan, SUV, or pickup. These tricks are simple, practical, and best of all, you don't need to be an expert to apply them. From how to take care of your oil to a habit that protects your car from corrosion, each tip is shop-tested and backed by years of on-road experience. If you want to save thousands on repairs, improve your engine's performance, and drive with the confidence that your car won't let you down, this video is for you. We're going to break down each trick with details that will completely change how you take care of your vehicle. Get ready to take notes, because these tips can turn your car into a practically eternal machine. Subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll get started with the first trick every driver should know. Let's make your car last a lifetime. Tip 1. Change oil every 7,000 to 10,000 kilometers. The mechanic's first trick is to change the engine oil every 7,000 to 10,000 kilometers, or every 6 months, without stretching it to 20,000 kilometers as many drivers do with synthetic oils. Oil is the lifeblood of your engine. It lubricates, cools, and cleans internal components, but over time it degrades, accumulates dirt, and loses effectiveness. If you leave it too long, sludge forms and clogs the passages, increasing wear on the pistons, connecting rods, and crankshaft. Mechanics know that under normal conditions, such as city or highway driving, 7,000 to 10,000 kilometers is the ideal interval to keep the engine healthy. For example, a taxi driver in Mexico with a Nissan Tsuru reached 1 million kilometers with oil changes every 8,000 kilometers, using the 5W30 oil recommended by the manufacturer. Always check your car owner's manual to choose the right oil, whether mineral, semi-synthetic, or synthetic, and use reliable brands with API or ACA certifications. Also, change your oil filter at every service to prevent debris from circulating. Check your oil level weekly with the dipstick to detect leaks or excessive consumption, especially if you drive in heavy traffic or extreme climates. This habit is crucial because a well-lubricated engine reduces friction and heat, prolonging the life of internal parts. If you use your car in harsh conditions, such as dusty roads or sub-zero temperatures, consider shorter intervals, such as every 5,000 kilometers. This trick is the foundation for your engine reaching 500,000 kilometers without problems. Don't fall into the trap of stretching out changes thinking the oil lasts longer. Mechanics know that this is a death sentence for your engine. Invest in quality oil and schedule your changes with discipline, and you'll see how your car will thank you with years of reliable service. Tip 2. Always use a clean air filter. The second trick is to keep the engine air filter clean, as it's like the lungs of your car. A clogged filter reduces airflow, forcing the engine to work harder, which increases fuel consumption and wear on the cylinders and pistons. Even worse, a dirty filter can let in dust particles that act like sandpaper inside the engine, causing irreversible damage. Mechanics recommend checking the filter every 5,000 kilometers and changing it every 10,000 kilometers, or more often in dusty areas such as rural roads or smoggy cities. A new filter costs little, but prevents repairs that can cost thousands of dollars. For example, a mechanic in Argentina maintained a Toyota Corolla with 600,000 kilometers without internal wear, only changing the air filter every 8,000 kilometers. To check the filter, open the airbox, usually near the engine, and check if it's dirty or full of debris. If you can't see light through the filter, replace it. Always use original equipment filters or OEM brands, as cheap generic ones don't filter as well. This trick not only protects the engine but also improves throttle response and fuel efficiency, saving you money on every trip. In humid climates, check the air filter housing for accumulated water, as this can damage the engine. Mechanics also suggest cleaning the air filter housing during every change to prevent dirt buildup. Tip 3. Check and change brake fluid every 2 years. The third trick is to check and change the brake fluid every 2 years, without exception. Brake fluid is essential for the braking system to function properly, but over time, it absorbs moisture from the environment, which lowers its boiling point. This can cause brakes to fail in critical situations, such as going down a steep hill, and cause corrosion in the brake lines and caliper pistons. Mechanics know that old brake fluid is a risk to the safety and durability of the system. Changing it is a quick and inexpensive process that any shop can do in less than an hour. Always use the type of fluid specified in the manual, such as DOT3, DOT4, or DOT 5.1, and never mix different types, as they can react and damage the system. A taxi driver in Spain with a 15-year-old Seat Leon reported 700,000 miles without brake problems, changing the fluid every 18 months. Check the fluid level monthly and look for signs like a spongy pedal or unresponsive brakes, as these indicate moisture or air in the system. This trick not only protects your safety but also prevents costly repairs to the calipers and master cylinder. In humid climates, consider more frequent changes, such as annually. Mechanics also recommend bleeding the brake system during changes to remove air bubbles. Tip 4. Use quality gasoline. The fourth trick is to always use quality gasoline, avoiding cheap blends that contain impurities such as water, sediment, or inappropriate additives. Low-quality fuel can clog injectors, foul spark plugs, and leave deposits on the valves, which reduces engine efficiency and accelerates wear. Mechanics recommend filling up at reputable service stations and, if your car requires it, using higher-octane gasoline, such as 95 or 98, according to the owner's manual. For example, a driver in Chile with a 20-year-old Honda Civic reached 800,000 kilometers using only premium gasoline, avoiding fuel system problems. Avoid filling up the tank right after the station receives fuel, as filling up can stir up sediment from the bottom of the tank. If you notice vibrations, loss of power, or unusual fuel consumption, it could be due to cheap gasoline. This trick is crucial because clean fuel ensures efficient combustion, reducing stress on the engine and extending its life up to 500,000 kilometers. Also, consider adding a trusted brand of fuel additive every 20,000 kilometers to clean the system. Mechanics warn that the savings on cheap gasoline aren't worth the cost of repairing injectors or valves. Check the fuel specifications in your manual and choose reliable stations. This simple habit can make the difference between an engine that lasts a decade and one that easily reaches 500,000 km. Tip 5. Warm up the cold engine for 1 to 2 minutes. The fifth trick is to warm up a cold engine for 1 to 2 minutes before driving, especially in the morning or after several hours of not using the car. When the engine is cold, the oil hasn't fully circulated, leaving the internal parts without adequate lubrication. Immediately accelerating or driving at high revs causes excessive friction, wearing down components like bearings and pistons. Mechanics recommend letting the car idle for 1 to 2 minutes to allow the oil to reach all moving parts and the engine to reach optimal temperature. A driver in Peru with an 18-year-old Toyota Yaris reached 650,000 kilometers by warming up the engine every morning, avoiding premature wear. This trick is especially important in cold climates, where the oil becomes more viscous, or in older cars with less forgiving engines. However, don't overdo it. Warming up for more than 5 minutes wastes fuel and provides no additional benefits. Once the engine is ready, drive gently for the first few kilometers to allow the system to stabilize. In modern cars, sensors adjust the fuel mixture during warm-up, but habit is still key to longevity. Mechanics also suggest checking the oil level before starting to confirm there are no leaks. This trick protects the engine and can help you reach 500,000 kilometers without costly rebuilds. Practice this daily habit, and your engine will thank you with a much longer lifespan. Tip 6. Check tire pressure every month. The sixth tip is to check tire pressure at least once a month to reduce engine strain and prolong the life of your car. Underinflated or overinflated tires make the engine work harder, increasing fuel consumption and wear on the drivetrain. In addition, incorrect tire pressure accelerates tire wear and affects safety, compromising grip and stability. Mechanics recommend using a reliable tire gauge and measuring tire pressure when the tires are cold, as heat increases the readings. Consult your car owner's manual for the recommended tire pressure, typically between 30 and 35 psi for passenger cars. A driver in Colombia with a 15-year-old Renault Logan reached 700,000 kilometers, 430,000 miles, by checking the pressure monthly, which kept the engine efficient and the tires in good condition. Don't forget to check the spare tire, as it could save you in an emergency. This tip also improves the suspension and reduces wear on the bushings and shock absorbers. In rainy climates, proper tire pressure ensures better traction. Mechanics suggest rotating your tires every 10,000 miles, 10,000 kilometers, for even wear. If you notice your car pulling to one side or vibrating, check the pressure immediately. Make this checkup a monthly ritual, and your engine will work less, giving you years of reliable service. Tip 7. Don't always keep the tank empty. The seventh trick is to avoid driving with a nearly empty gas tank, a habit that protects the fuel pump and extends its life. The fuel pump is designed to be submerged in gasoline, which acts as a lubricant and coolant. When the tank is too low, the pump can suck air or sediment from the bottom, causing premature wear or complete failure. Replacing a fuel pump can cost hundreds of dollars, and mechanics know that keeping the tank at least a quarter full prevents this problem. A taxi driver in Brazil with a 17-year-old Fiat Palio reached 900,000 kilometers by always keeping the tank above a quarter, without replacing the pump. This trick also reduces the buildup of residue in the fuel system, keeping it cleaner. In diesel cars, it's even more critical, as sediment can damage the fuel injection pump. Mechanics recommend filling the tank before it drops below 25% and avoiding questionable gas stations. If you drive in rural areas, carry enough gas to avoid getting stranded. This habit is simple but effective for reaching 500,000 kilometers without fuel system problems. And your car will take you far without costly breakdowns. Tip 8. Change coolant every 3 years. The 8th trick is to change the coolant every 3 years or according to the manufacturer's manual to prevent overheating and prolong engine life. Coolant regulates engine temperature and prevents corrosion in the radiator, hoses, and water pump. Over time, it loses its anti-corrosion properties and accumulates residue, which can clog the system and cause serious damage, such as a burnt cylinder head. Mechanics recommend using the specified coolant, such as an ethylene glycol-based antifreeze, and never mixing different types, as they can form deposits. A driver in Argentina with a 20-year-old Volkswagen GOL reached 800,000 kilometers by changing the coolant every 2.5 years, with no overheating problems. Check the coolant level monthly and look for leaks or color changes, which indicate contamination. This trick is inexpensive and can prevent repairs costing thousands. In hot climates, check that the radiator fan is working properly. Mechanics also suggest flushing the cooling system during the change to remove residue. This habit ensures your engine stays fresh and functional for up to 500,000 kilometers. Don't ignore this maintenance. A fresh engine is an engine that lasts for decades. Tip 9. Check and change spark plugs according to the manufacturer. The 9th tip is to check and replace the spark plugs according to the manufacturer's specifications, typically every 30,000 to 100,000 kilometers, depending on the type, copper, platinum, or iridium. Spark plugs ignite the air-fuel mixture, and if worn, they cause misfires, loss of power, and increased fuel consumption. In extreme cases, they can damage the ignition coil. A driver in Ecuador with a 16-year-old Chevrolet Aveo reached 600,000 kilometers by changing platinum spark plugs every 60,000 kilometers, keeping the engine efficient. Check your owner's manual for the exact interval and use original equipment, OEM, spark plugs. Mechanics recommend inspecting the spark plugs annually for carbon buildup or wear. If you notice the car shaking or slowing down the acceleration, check the plugs immediately. This maintenance is simple and inexpensive, but crucial for reaching 500,000 kilometers. For high-mileage cars, consider iridium spark plugs for added durability. Combine this trick with an injector cleaning for optimal performance, reducing wear and tear and getting you closer to that 500,000-mile mileage. Tip 10. Wash the underbody of the car to prevent corrosion. The 10th tip is to wash the underbody regularly to prevent corrosion, especially in areas exposed to salt, water, or mud. The underbody of the vehicle, including the frame, brake lines, and suspension, is vulnerable to rust, which can weaken the structure and cause costly failures. Mechanics recommend washing the underbody every 3 months with a high-pressure hose or at a specialized car wash. A driver in Uruguay with a 19-year-old Ford Fiesta reached 550,000 kilometers by washing the underbody every month during the rainy season, preventing rust on the frame. In coastal or snowy areas, use an annual anti-corrosion treatment. Be sure to dry the car thoroughly after washing to avoid trapped moisture. If you see rust, treat it immediately with specific products. This tip is key to ensuring your car reaches 500,000 kilometers with a solid structure. Combine it with regular suspension checks for complete maintenance. Protect your car from rust and it will be ready for decades of adventures. And there you have it, friends. These are 10 mechanic tricks to help your car last 500,000 miles. Regular oil changes, clean air filters, fresh brake fluid, quality gasoline, engine warm-up, correct tire pressure, a full tank of gas, renewed coolant, good spark plugs, and a corrosion-free underbody. These shop and road-tested practices are the key to a long-lasting car. You don't need to be a mechanic to apply them, it just requires discipline and attention. Start today, check your manual, schedule an oil change, and check your tires. Which of these tricks do you already use? Do you have a car that seems indestructible? Tell us in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more tips that will keep your car rolling for decades. See you on the road.